Be your authentic self. It sounds empowering, but here's the truth. No one needs all of you, but everyone needs the best of you. You don't have to hide who you are, but you do need to manage how you're going to show up. So, how do we walk that line of showing up authentic, but also not impacting our brand? Stick with me because in this episode, I'm going to share 3 strategies that will really help us show up as our authentic self. One of the things that I've learned over time about curating how I show up is my emotional intelligence. And that is really regulating before I respond, regulating my feelings before I respond. You know, there was points in my life that I would just respond and say the raw, unfiltered. It was like I was often told I had no filter between my brain and my mouth. And Destiny Walkers, yes, in fact, that was true. So over time, as I learned to become better about curating my stories, my lessons, and my insights, one key factor that I really begin to understand is the importance of emotional intelligence. And what does that really mean? That's really about managing your emotions, but it also includes managing the emotions of others. So, one thing I had to learn is that pause before I respond or even react. If you're in a situation with a person and they're going off the rails, you don't have to jump in immediately. Just pause because guess what I realized over time? My calm is really my credibility. I don't have to respond or I don't have to get heightened in the situation with everybody else. Sometimes it's important just to take a step back, slow the conversation down, calm it down so that you can get back on the right page for yourself. Life is not about other people and how other people are showing up. Remember, this is about curating how we are going to decide to show up in the room. Let me share this story about one time an incident that was happening with someone in my friend circle. And it took my best friend to give me a call and said, "Best friend, don't jump in feet first." And I had a lesson from that because I had one side of the story. There, of course, was another side of the story. But I was like, you know what? This is part of my inner circle. This is my rise or dies. Let's go. Let's help them out. Let's do this. And what she taught me is do not be impulsive in your responses. Don't just get in there and jump in situations with other people. And part of that is learning how you're going to curate and how you are going to show up, even in situations when you are there to assist with other people as well. So, point number 2, know the difference between personal and private information when you're sharing information with others to help you show up as your authentic self. So, when I'm talking about personal information, what does that mean? That is really sharing context and making you relatable to people about who you are and the person that you are. For example, share where did you grow up? What are your hobbies? What do you like to do on the weekend? What kinds of food do you like? Those are examples of personal information. On the other hand, private information is information that can really compromise boundaries, like your personal finance information, information about your relationships or your marriage, information about your children that you want to keep protected. So, being authentic, you need to understand that you have personal information and you have private information. Curate the experience to always be able to share that personal information to allow people to have context about who you are. I'll also add on your private information. It should really stick with your inner circle. And we've talked about who those people are in your inner circle. And I mean those people in the ride or die part of your inner circle. Your private information should be protected because you would not walk out and just start handing out copies of your bank account. So, why do we do that with certain areas of our lives? My friend, that is not helping you to show up authentically. It is showing up as the unprocessed, raw version of you that everyone doesn't need. Remember, they don't need just all of you, they need the best of you. So, my third and final strategy that I want to share with you, Destiny Walkers, is to lead with empathy. Why am I saying to lead with empathy? Because it is very important that we don't know what is going on in everyone's private life. What we get to see is the personal side of them to make them relatable and to have us understand them a little bit more in context. But all of us have those private moments where we may be struggling financially, where we may have marital issues, where there may be some issues with our family or our children. So, what I want to share with you is to show up and just be empathetic towards people and understand that everyone is not waking up ill will towards you. So, how do you show up with empathy? There is strength in listening. Learn to listen. We often hear teachers tell children you have two ears and one mouth for a specific reason. Come back to that model. Listen more than you talk. The other thing is giving space for diversity of thought, something that I often teach about, the dot movement. Diversity of thought is very important. You and I don't even think alike, partially because maybe where we grew up, how we grew up, who we grew up with, brothers, sisters, cousins, only child, all of that impacts how we show up. But always be empathetic and respect that other people may have a divergent opinion from you, and it's not wrong. It's just different. Because here's what I will tell you. Real influence comes from listening and asking more questions. Last but not least, learn to create space for others. A lot of times we see people that just want to be in the forefront, they want the shine, they want to be on stage. It is so important to invite people in. One thing about me, my strength is I am a strong collaborator. I'm always like, okay, let me get this thought, let me get this thought, because here's what I do understand. I have strengths in certain areas, but just like everybody else, I have weaknesses too. So I don't allow my weaknesses just to be the stopping point for me. But part of that is understanding that my empathy and how I'm showing up and how I'm having a feeling for other people allows me to allow people in the areas that I may not be strong in. But in return, also offer where I may be strong in. So it's important to understand that creating space for others, that is servant leadership. And we have to learn how to be that servant leader and create space for others and also help those who may feel like they do not have a voice in a space to now have that voice and to be heard and seen and appreciated. Listen, I agree. Authenticity is essential, but transparency is optional because we must be strategic on how we are going to show up. So, if this episode resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with other Destiny Walkers.